I, 26M, work as a senior analyst for a commercial real estate firm. It's a high-stress job where I deal with a lot of sensitive data and expensive contracts. About 3 months ago, I moved into a high-rise apartment with a roommate, 24F, to save some cash while I prepped for my broker's license. We weren't friends, it was strictly a business arrangement. She was a self-proclaimed lifestyle influencer with a trust fund and a personality that felt like it was constantly being filtered for social media. From day one, she had these bizarre rules. She told me, "I have a very specific circle of friends. They're high-profile and a little sensitive to outsiders. It's better if you just stay in your room or head out when they're over. Stay away from them. I don't want things getting complicated." I honestly didn't care. I work 60 hours a week. I wasn't looking to hang out with her squad. But the entitlement was off the charts. She started claiming the common areas for 12 hours at a time for content shoots. I'd come home and couldn't even use the kitchen because she didn't want the fridge humming in the background of her videos. She treated the apartment like a private soundstage and me like an uncredited extra. The real conflict started last month. I came home around 8 p.m. and found 6 people in our living room drinking my expensive bourbon. One guy was literally sitting at my desk, the one I use for my firm work, scrolling through my dual monitor setup. I dropped my bag and asked what was going on. My roommate stepped up, looking annoyed, and said, "I told you to stay away from my friends. We're brainstorming. Just go to your room, okay?" I told her point blank that he was on my work computer, which is a company-issue device with encrypted client data. The guy, who she called her manager, didn't even move. He just looked at me and said, "Relax, man. I'm just looking at your spreadsheets. You've got some interesting lead gen data. Mind if I airdrop a few of these files to myself? It'll help with our merch launch." I felt my blood boil. I told him if he touched a single file, I'd call the police for unauthorized access to a protected computer system. My roommate just rolled her eyes and told her friends I was being dramatic and that I was just the help that pays half the rent. I shoved past him, locked my system, and lugged my entire setup into my bedroom while they laughed at me through the door. That was the turning point. I realized she wasn't just having friends over. She was running a full-blown business out of a residential zoned apartment. Even worse, I recognized her manager from a corporate compliance memo at my firm. The guy was bad news. A week later, she cornered me with a non-disclosure agreement. She said her circle was launching a venture and they needed to protect their intellectual property. If I didn't sign it, she threatened to tell the landlord I was harassing her and get a restraining order to kick me out. I looked at the fine print. The document basically said her production company owned any data captured in the shared workspace. They were trying to legalize the theft of my firm's data. I refused and she lost it. She told me I had 24 hours to pack or she'd call the cops, claiming she had edited videos of me shouting at her to make me look dangerous. She didn't realize I had my own security camera in my bedroom that caught the audio of them plotting to scrape my computer through the walls. I didn't wait for her next move. I spent the morning at the county clerk's office and emailed my firm's legal department. When I got home, she started screaming about her 24-hour deadline. I just leaned against the counter and told her the city code enforcement officer was already downstairs. I told her she was running an unpermitted business in a zone, our one residential building, and hosting creator retreats that violated our lease. Then I showed her a photo of her manager. I explained that he was under investigation by the SEC for a pump and dump scheme and that my firm was a whistleblower. By giving him access to my work terminal, she had just walked into a conspiracy charge for corporate espionage. She turned pale and started the "you're just jealous" routine, but then the landlord showed up with a city inspector. They had time-stamped video evidence, which I provided, of her professional equipment and the employees she was cycling through the unit. The landlord handed her a 3-day notice to quit for incurable lease violations and told her he was suing her for the unjust enrichment profits she made by using his property as a studio. She completely snapped. She smashed a vase on the floor and started screaming that her father would sue me into the ground. Right then, my father, a retired detective who does high-level security, walked in. He showed us a news alert. Her manager had been picked up an hour ago and was already naming names to get a plea deal. He told the feds she was the one who suggested targeting my work computer for insider info to save her failing brand. The next couple of days were wild. Her high-profile friends evaporated instantly. One of her creatives actually showed up and screamed at her because the city fined her $5,000 for being part of the illegal business. My roommate tried to play the victim, but the girl just told her she'd heard her plotting to steal my data on a live stream she forgot to turn off. The entitlement didn't die easy, though. While I was packing my stuff to move to a new place, I caught her in my room trying to smash my work laptop with a heavy book. I grabbed her wrist, and she started ripping her own clothes and screaming for help, trying to frame me for assault. I just pointed to the new visible high-def camera in the corner of my room that was uploading to the cloud in real time. She stopped screaming pretty fast when she realized she was looking at a false report charge. The police escorted her out a few minutes later, so the landlord could finish his walkthrough. She had to walk past the trash chute where the landlord had tossed all her expensive ring lights and softboxes as abandoned equipment. She wailed about her gear, but the landlord told her he was keeping it as security for the unpaid rent and property damage. A few days later, her father showed up at my office with a blank check. He tried to buy my silence and get me to retract my statement to the SEC. I told him that taking that check would be witness tampering and bribery, and I wasn't interested in joining his daughter in a federal indictment. I'd also recorded our conversation, which didn't help his case. The final showdown happened in court. Because she used the apartment's internet to coordinate the data theft, the authorities got her entire cloud history. They found messages of her laughing about bleeding me dry and complaining that her father's bribes weren't big enough to fix her mess. The judge was not impressed by her influencer status. He told her she treated the law like a suggestion and sentenced her to 2 years in a federal camp plus $150,000 in restitution to my firm. Her manager got 10 years. Her father is now under investigation for the bribery attempt, and the family's safety net has basically disintegrated. I'm in a quiet one-bedroom now, finally studying for my license in peace. No cameras, no creators, and definitely no manager trying to airdrop my life's work. I learned that when someone tells you to stay away from their friends, you should listen. It's usually because those friends are a liability. If you enjoyed watching this lifestyle brand go bankrupt in real time, feel free to subscribe. I promise my posts have way better lighting than a federal holding cell.